motion that we approve the minutes from our January 31st meeting.
Second that.
Alright, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Glenn could not make it today, so it is just me and Steve. We are coming back to the redevelopment application that BNT Glass submitted. January 31st, we had a meeting about it, but since then, things have like transpired as far as like parts of the project. So I just really needed like a legal way to be able to like form minutes and say like, this is the structure that we're going with. I know like Nick's reached out, spoke to me, spoke to Kirby, but really just so that we can have more of a legal way about this thing, instead of being like, yeah, well, he said this to me in a text message or this in an email or something like that. So really it's just a formality of us just being able to meet up. Since then, Nick has said, and jump in at any point, Nick said that they are going to move forward with us, but not do the parking lot. Do you remember we had a conversation where
talk about,
yep, where we had offered to help with all of the other parts, and then like whether you guys would do it in phases or how. So really, so that we could either write it up as a full package, or if we were going to break it up into multiple facets, we were going to pay it in different formalities. We're going to do to some TIF monies and business district, and then the facade grant as far as painting. Nothing has really changed on your guys' end, has it, as far as like structures or the same?
No, nothing's changed.
Same with that.
got
So
the numbers on.
I left my paper somewhere in the abyss of my house. The construction was going.
So it was 38,706 TIF,
Mm-hmm.
5,000 facade grant,
It's for the painting,
and then
and then the showroom.
demolition interior and build interior showroom
Mm-hmm.
is 16,967.
Yes. Yep, so like the grand total of that was like 16.
Oh, I don't have it all added up.
Oh, yeah.
I did, but let's see.
So what was agreed upon was like 30% of each of the phases project.
My total came out to 60,673.
Is that with the facade and everything? Okay, how much you say it was?
60,673.
Mm-hmm. And the parking lot could also, is up for option, or like when you get further down the road, whether it be 5, 10 years, 2 years, 3 years, whatever, that's always an option to come back at us, at that time. But for right now, as far as the redevelopment, we're going to have the lawyer draw up papers that would just include the 30% that would be for the showroom, whatever needs to be. I think that there's a complete breakdown in there on the paperwork of what needs done there, and then the addition, and then the painting. So once it's painted, it'll get paid out a little bit separately. So do you want them to fill out a facade agreement?
I brought one.
Okay.
Are you
So
guys in
make sure
agreement
we-
on this?
I'm sorry?
Are you in agreement on what the
Yes,
numbers?
yes.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Yes,
As far as-
no, we're in
yeah.
agreement. Can I also add, this would be under a 12-month contract, is that correct? Is it typically what you use 12
So
months?
in our contracts, the timelines, we let you guys typically set that. I mean, you guys know what your timeline needs to be for the project. I mean, it can't be something ridiculous like 5 years, obviously, but yes, usually it is within a 1-year time frame.
Okay.
Yeah. So usually
That's what the
I mean,
TIF is, 1 year, that's what agreements are.
The agreements are good for 1 year for them to
Yes.
start, but if they need longer for completion, we allow
Yeah,
that.
like
Yeah, we
completion dates are
extended.
usually a little bit different just for material and purposes, and I'm sure your contractor, I don't know if you've already contacted, and then.
Yeah, so where I was going with that, the addition, the repainting, and the showroom, we're ready to jump on that.
Mhm.
I was just wondering if I could request to go ahead and include the parking lot with maybe like a 24-month contract, if that would be acceptable.
What's your thoughts? I mean, we would just have to put a contingent on, do you wanna do two separate redevelopment agreements? Or do we want to include it in one? Because like payout would be upon completion of project, so if we would do a 24-month, would that bind us to a full payout?
And if I'm making it more difficult, I would be okay with it all being 12 months, it was just a request.
So now you want to do the parking lot now?
If we could.
Okay.
Okay. Well,
I
Kirby,
mean,
you want to
or we could just
refigure?
make it as simple as just, I could refigure it real quick and.
Yeah, figure
Yeah,
real quick with
refigure
the
it and then-
70,000 on it.
We could put a longer timeline on it, and if you complete it sooner, you get paid sooner.
So just so
Like,
that
it's done sooner.
but it'll still be in 4 separate phases, correct? If we do the addition, once it's complete, we would receive the reimbursement for that. Once we would repaint the building after that, we would get the facade reimbursement upon receipt.
Yes, once the work's completed.
Yes,
Right.
like that, and then, and to pay out like that, Kirby, do we have like a legal way of doing that? As far as like, he was like, if we just agree to do full project, but phase one, once that's completed, we pay that out, phase two, can we write that in redevelopment, or do we need to do a redevelopment based on phase separately? Like,
Typically you reimburse for all of the projects included in the agreement in one lump sum.
okay,
Not saying that that's the only way we can do it, but I mean, we can consult with Steve on that and see if we can break it up into a 4 or however many phase project and reimburse upon completion of each phase, but typically they suggest you reimburse the agreed upon amount after all components of the project are completed.
right, which is what, that's what, yeah.
With that being said, it may be easier to keep the first 3 phases together and then revisit the parking lot later.
I was gonna say that,
That's what we did over here at Sperling. They did one, then came back later and did another one.
Okay.
So you wanna just leave it then, leave the parking lot?
If we could, I just thought if it could be its own contract separate from the other 3.
We can come back and
Or
or
visit
just
that
something,
later.
like, you're just
Okay.
like, you get this done in, 6 to 8
You
months,
can-
and then come
yeah.
fall, you wanna.
Come back and look
You
at
can
it later
absolutely
on.
come back and apply again later,
Right,
but
but
just
to
know.
avoid that whole process. it
That's
would
kind of what I was trying
Yeah,
to do. You've
yeah.
already approved it and you have the amount, I just thought I
Right.
would move forward.
Which is
Yeah,
what
you
my thought
do
process.
these first, then that.
Can you
Parking lot
enter
later.
into separate contracts right now with both of them in 12 months? So like the 3 phases be one contract and the parking lot be one contract, enter in them today. And then they both have a 12-month completion, but once these 3 are done, we get the payout for that. And then once the parking lot's done, you get a payout for that. So that we already
That
have
was
it.
what I thought, and I almost thought about doing the redevelopment for the parking lot into a 24-month, only because
So that you
if
get,
you're gonna do it in 12 months, then we would have just bundled it all together.
Yeah.
And at the end of the 12 months, we would just pay you in full.
Kirby, what would be the easiest way to do this for Steve Martin to understand what we're doing?
I would say the easiest way I would think that he would say, just leave the parking lot out now and come back later for it.
That's what we did with Sperling, like I said.
I mean, that's
They were
what
all
I
about
can
doing
see him
something,
saying.
and we came back.
Well, I get what they're doing is just so that they can go ahead and probably work on it now, I would assume, because
Right,
part
you
of
could
the-
tie up a $70,000 parking lot project needing to be finished to get reimbursement on 3 projects that we're gonna complete probably in 60 to 90 days.
Right, and it's probably all gonna be one fatal swoop as far as like, you're gonna start base layer, which
Right.
would be a parking lot and anything like that. Does,
So then why not just include the parking lot on the initial ask with the 12-month completion?
they were just asking because they wanted to know if like, they got it phased, if like one phase beat the other phase, if they could get that paid out, and so that maybe they could get money.
If we
a couple
complete the
months
first 3
under.
projects in 90 days, we would be ready for reimbursement, but since the parking lot was added to it, you would have to wait for the completion of the parking lot to get any reimbursement,
Yeah,
even if we was to do that, say, in September, October
Yeah,
of this year. That's
still
what I was
fall
trying to
within a
avoid.
year, you're fine.
yeah,
We can move forward with the 3.
just do the.
Yeah, and exempt the parking lot for now, we'll just revisit it later.
But if the completion date can be extended, why not do that?
It'll have to be its own contract anyways.
Unless, yeah.
So
Unless
So you're
you,
going to come back later on
Unless
the
you-
parking lot, is that what you're saying?
If it can't be separate, then yes.
Okay, we'll come
Which
back to
thoughts
it
on
later
it?
then.
So, my question, so if this the 3 that we wanna go ahead with, if that's done in 60 to 90 days, can we come back in 60 to 90 days?
Yeah,
And and enter into the
the
parking
next,
lot one?
yeah,
There's no time limit between, so we
No,
can come
no.
next month and say, all right, we're doing the parking
You
lot
just gotta
and
get this
reapply for
one-
this parking lot.
you just gotta get the one agreement finished first, and then you start the next one,
Okay.
come back and see us, and then do like we're doing
can
now,
we
sit
have
down
two
and
open
redraw it up.
redevelopments at the same time?
That would be my
I would
next
think the
question.
status of one would probably influence, The other.
The status in the second, okay. Yeah, because like, my thought process is like, you're gonna have multiple contractors, assuming, so if one contractor can get to the parking lot quicker than the guy can get to you building it,
Right.
then, you know, I can see where that can probably pose problems as far as redevelopment, because now you're like, oh crap, you know, not to come back
Right.
on a project that's already done. And,
Whatever you wanna do, if you wanna add it now, we can do that.
If it can be its own contract and not hold up the reimbursement for the other 3 phases, I would be 100% for doing it now.
Mhm.
If I'm making it more difficult and it needs to be added into the other 3, I would say we just wait.
What do you say, Kirby, on that?
I would just say we'd have to ask Steve. That's the only thing, is that I think we would just have to ask him.
Okay, can you shoot him an email and see, I don't know how soon he intends to get back on those things, but if,
It just depends.
if we can shoot him
Or
an
call him
email.
real quick and see if he'll talk to you.
Yeah,
Whichever one you want me to do, or you can give him a call if you want, I mean, I don't care either way.
yeah, and just be easier to just settle it right now than have to
Do
have.
you think you're
another
gonna have it all done in a year? I would just do it all at the same time.
meeting. Mhm.
Because each phase you do, you're gonna get reimbursed. So once you do,
So Steve, I think what was just said, because that's how I thought it worked,
Yeah,
all 3 phases have to be complete before we get reimbursed.
well, each one of them gets done, you get reimbursed for that one, then this one gets reimbursed as you do them.
well, that's what he was thinking, and that's maybe kind of what I thought, but Kirby's under the understanding that it has to be like completed of the entire redevelopment.
I think that they would suggest that,
That's
but
what
I'm not saying that that's what he'll say. I'm
Yeah.
just saying he typically suggests it's black or white with Steve, you know that, like,
Oh, yeah.
you know, he'll say, everything that's included in that one agreement, you're gonna want that to be done before you give any of the reimbursement back. He's just always said that.
How
But-
do we,
But then again, he works for us, so if that's what you guys wanna do, I would tell him that that's the stipulations you want in the contract. I don't think it's an issue, you'll have to deliberately state it that way to him.
we'll just have to be very, okay, very forward onto phase 1 and what it includes and what the payout would be. And then can we put a stipulation on, like, phase 1's completion date must be within this moment, phase 2's completion date must be within, you know, this timeline, and then phase 3, and then, we could maybe litigate a little bit more on, like, the parking lot, like they said something about maybe like an extended, like maybe a 24-month. Could we do a phase thing, whether it be just 2 phases of project, of the construction, and then parking lot project? We could just do 2 phases, or we could do 3. What would you prefer? Would you prefer 3 for the facade, but the facade is completely separate from this redevelopment, so it'll be on application of its own.
Yeah,
So
cause you're
it'll
talking about
get paid out.
TIF and then business district and facade. 3
Which
different
facade
things.
comes from TIP anyway too, it's just a different line item than the.
Same pool of money, but we would just pay it out differently, and that would get paid out as soon as you complete that part of the paint project, so that wouldn't be a holdup as far as money.
And if you think about it too, phase 2 is a significantly lower amount
Mhm.
than phase 1, so I would think that Steve would be okay with you doing that, just, stating, that they have to complete phase one and be reimbursed for that before they can start and be reimbursed for phase two.
As each one's finished, they get paid for it, then they can go on the next or whatever, how they do it.
Mm-hmm.
That way,
I would almost break it down into like a two-phase one though,
Let's
not
just do
four.
two-phase and do the two-phase, we'll just completely separate the paint phase of this, the paint project of that, because it's gonna come out of a completely different application, it's gonna come out of a different, line item on our budget and stuff like that. So we'll do like two-phase, first phase would be, construction of building and showroom. And then the second
what would
would be,
work for you
I
guys?
think that'll work, because we're gonna do both of those at the same time.
those will be a
Yeah.
project that'll be done at the same time.
So that'd be one phase there.
And as far as, Justin, as far as the building permit and stuff with that, will they need multiple?
It's gonna be all separate, everything's gonna have to go to planning and zoning because they're in the commercial overlay. So
Okay,
your first step, I wouldn't buy your paint or do anything with your paint because it has to be approved through planning and zoning, any outside changes or modifications. So that has to be done, your addition, they'll need to have plans and everything, that'll also have to go to planning and zoning for approval. And then your outside parking lot, you'll have to know where your property pins lay, because if you're over your pins and you're pouring to probably the sidewalk where you wanna be in your approach, then you'll have to do a boulevard agreement because you'll be outside of your property line. So there's several steps that you guys will have to go through with my office as well before we can move forward.
Jared, or Justin, did I understand you right, just to paint the building?
Just to paint the building, yes.
and the next planning and zoning is in March, right?
Yeah, cause they just had one this week.
Yes.
Justin, you'll have to work with them so they know what they gotta have.
Yeah, everything they've said so far, I mean, everything, we can all bundle it into one if we can get it all done at once, if they can get all their plans ready.
And they have a good portion of all of it that they've already submitted to us, so, yeah. As far as getting them onto the agenda for planning and zoning, how do we go about doing that?
You just gotta tell them.
You just have to, okay,
So we're gonna add, go ahead and add the parking lot to it then.
If we could, please.
Okay. Kirby, you wanna figure it up? I've kind of figured it up, I want you to.
I did, I got 81,673.
and,
I mean, double check me, but that's what I got.
I come up 81,667, but we'll go with yours then.
we're talking $5.
Yeah.
I rounded on one of them.
Oh, did you? Okay, I did 199 on it.
Do you want to do 12 months? Do you want to do 18? Do you want to do?
Since we're doing a parking lot, if you would do 18 months, and they're gonna be separated out in phases, that would be great.
Yeah, make sure Steve Mark shows it separate, you know.
Yep, phase one and then construction and showroom and then.
How much time do we give them phase one then?
I mean, I would say we could do.
What would be a good number for you
12.
guys for phase one? The building and
We could
the
do-
showroom?
You just wanna keep it at 12?
I mean, I could do 12 for phase one and then do the 18 months for phase.
That's fine. Phase one's gonna be completed shortly.
Steve Martin wanna have
Because
that in there.
it's not really, it's more to hold you accountable.
Right.
It's not necessarily a timeline, like, you can't wait. I mean, like, oh, you have to wait, because if it's only gonna take you 3 months, you better wait 9 months to start it, so
Right.
it's not like that. You could, you know, that just kind of maybe is a, baseline. I'm not gonna give you,
We have the facade painting month in under that 12 months also.
the facade is a little different, because it is just upon completion, right? We don't really have we have a timeline on the facade, but we don't necessarily have like as far as our agreements with.
They want those done within a year.
Within a
That's what
year.
I was thinking, one of them was a year for sure.
Okay.
Perfect.
Will that work?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, and then, before you guys head out, she's got the facade agreement for you.
Okay.
Just fill it out, it's fairly easy, a lot. I mean, you have all the information mostly on here, so, and then just give it back to Kirby, and then, we'll go ahead, can I go ahead and approve the facade agreement now in this committee, or the
It's
facade
gotta go to
application?
council.
Well, that's what I mean, to send to council?
Yeah, we can
Or,
recommend have these sit there.
Because we basically have all the
Right.
same stuff on the other application, we just have
Right.
to have this.
right,
paper.
that's why usually we just don't have the paper.
They will have to have it
Just then I can go ahead and,
turned in by Monday night, would that be?
would that, you think you can do that?
Have this application turned in by
Yeah.
Monday? Sure.
Okay, yeah, or the Monday night, just as long as I have it before council night.
Okay.
And then, I can go ahead and I can present it to council and we'll just
The
do
agenda's
all
not to
three.
be adjusted, cause it just shows the
Yeah, I'll,
agreement, we'll have to have the facade on that also.
yeah, I'll have, can you amend it if that's
Yeah,
fine?
just let them know and they'll amend it.
Yeah, I'll just throw it on the agenda, it won't take long, to add the facade. Okay, so, make sure, upon agreement, we're gonna go ahead and do a motion to recommend to council that we enter in a redevelopment agreement with BNT Glass for a 2-part phase addition, parking lot showroom for, the property right across the street, formerly known as Slack Glass. 2-phase, first phase will be completed in the first 12 months, with a total of $55,673. And phase 2 would be a parking lot drive, would be for reimbursement of $26,000. Completion date being 18 months. All of this, of course, contingent of the appropriate avenues of locations, pins, planning and zoning, applications such as that. You obviously know the route of.
Building additions, 59, how much you say you had on that?
55,673, because we would have took $5,000 off the 60,673 for painting.
Yeah, I added the 5,000 to it, yeah. Or it's 59.7, isn't it?
That's why I have 59,706.
59.706, yeah, for that.
59,706. So then what do you have for driveway? So that would be 21.
Then the
No,
building.
I'm sorry, the 59,706 included the parking lot.
Right.
That includes the park,
Yeah.
like, that was in the original build-out quote. So 59,706 is that portion with the parking lot included.
With the parking lot included. So you got a total project of 81,673.
Yeah,
Like,
if you're gonna separate it, you better have the numbers.
this is off of the one estimate, which is the build-out, which includes the parking lot.
Yep.
The 6967 is the other estimate that they gave us, that was for the interior work.
Oh, for
and that was
interior.
the facade.
Okay,
That's how I broke it down.
so your parking lot included in.
This one.
This one,
And this was the same figure without the parking lot,
okay.
whenever they were first talking about that, and then whenever they decided to go ahead and add the
Okay,
parking
because
lot.
I need to separate and do the parking lot into its own phase.
Mhm.
So you had to try and refigure that.
So I
I'll
would
get
need
you
a
that.
new- I would need a new total for the
Okay.
drive, because it needs to be pulled out
Yeah, it's gonna be
separately
separate then.
than that, because we'll have the 5 for the painting, and that'll be in a completely different location, so if we take the 81,673, subtract off that 5,
It's 21,000.
21,
21,000 is the parking lot.
21 parking lot, and then you still do the 59,706 for the,
No, then it's 38,706.
Yeah. That's what I originally had down here. That was before the parking lot was added. So you're gonna do the one phase with those two, they'll get reimbursed for that much.
so that still doesn't come up to that 81,673 that we went through for the entire project.
59,706.
21,000 divided by 706.
That 59,706 plus the 21 would give us that 81 total.
So I got 81,673.
Right,
That's for everything.
yeah, that's for
Yep.
everything total,
But
take
your,
5
the
grand.
first phase is just gonna be
21,000.
the,
Take 5 grand off of this 81,673 for painting.
It's on there.
Okay.
And it came to that.
Okay, yeah. So I need these two numbers to be my phase 1, because they're gonna do that all in phase 1. That showroom of 16, and then the build on 38, so I need those two numbers to be my phase 1 total.
Okay.
cause that first phase, part that's coming out of business district and the other's coming out of TIF.
Right, so I will need those numbers separately, but aside that's between us on budget and how we will.
So those two numbers put together, 38,706 and 16,967 is 55,673.
Right, yes. So, okay, back to what I was saying, so we are back at the 55,673 is the correct total for construction showroom for 12 months. Phase 2 driveway will be at the 21,000, which is 30% of the 70,000 you guys had submitted. So,
Yeah,
with
you're using three different things, TIF, business district,
yes,
and facade.
so I will need those numbers separated later for, as far as
Yeah,
budget,
cause
as to
Steve
where
had to know that for sure, how he does that.
we're.
I did it by the estimates that were submitted.
Yes,
That's what I
and,
did.
yeah, so we'll break that phase up pay-wise, so we'll go through that in a little bit, but as far as you guys, for redevelopment, we'll kind of go with that. So it's 55,673 and 21,000, and then an additional 5 for painting through the facade. So we will go ahead and submit that to council, for approval. Can you go ahead, or would you like to go ahead and enter into this agreement with us?
If we could, please.
Yep, and then as far as that, would you like to be on the agenda for planning and zoning?
Yes.
For the painting and
So
zoning.
you'll have to give an adjustment and get all that, and they can get it, cause they gotta advertise how many days out on the next meeting.
We won't on this. On that, I don't have to advertise it.
Okay, just
They just have to
give
give
them
me,
these
they have to
guys,
give me plans, renderings, so on and so forth, everything they're gonna do, and then survey, your surveying, it's gonna need to probably be surveyed, cause you're gonna need to know where the pins are at for your driveway.
Justin,
just
does that
get
need
with
to
them.
go to planning and zoning before we stick it to council?
Well, I mean, my part's just gonna be none of the addition, the painting, the outside painting, everything outside will have to be approved because of the commercial overlay.
Right, right,
So, I mean,
cause council won't be able to fully approve it.
they can't approve the building, the actual construction or the paintings.
No, we can approve the redevelopment agreement as far as like.
Pending planning and zoning.
Yes, it would be
Yeah.
contingent of course, the other, facets of that, but we would still be able to go to council and, cause council, we're just asking that the lawyer draw up that redevelopment agreement. So, I would say that we would still be fine for that. I mean, obviously, there's gonna be a lot of moving parts in the next couple of weeks with that before planning and zoning. Just so that we have all the ducks in a row, so you can walk into planning and zoning and have everything ready for them and it'll be a.
yeah, it'll all be based upon the plans when the commission approving it.
So, yeah, so, everyone can go in with that. I will go ahead and make a motion that we, send this redevelopment application to council on Monday night. All in favor?
All. In favor of we just had to have the attorney draw it up and
Mhm.
present it to council.
Yep, and then I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion that we send the facade agreement as well. That we go ahead
Yes.
and enter into a facade agreement with, BNT for the painting, obviously both contingent of planning and zoning approvals, and this proper permitting and such like that. So, with that, I think we're good on our part. Do you guys have anything, any other questions, any other, things about what happens next, what I do next?
I don't believe so.
Okay, yeah, so just make sure you get with Kirby, get the facade, you can get that back to us before Monday night, that'd be,
Yeah.
awesome.
We'll get it done, get it filled out.
Yep, assuming you guys probably already have paint colors and such picked out or within reason, have a fairly good idea, as far as those. So, Justin, do you want them to hang around for any minutes to talk to
Either
you?
that
or
or
do you-
one of them can get a hold of me later.
Okay. Do you need a building permit application now?
They'll need-
Yeah.
Well, before we go to planning and zoning, we'll need building permits, but they'll also have to get, before they fill it out, they're gonna need to get the pins and the offsets, and that'll determine boulevard agreements, if we need to go that way, depending on where the lines are at.
Okay,
Understood?
got that. Okay. All right, thank you guys for your
All right. Anything else you need from us?
Do you need anything as far as number wise? No?
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Let's start.
Hi Jared, this is the Economic and Development Committee here for the City of Pana. You are on speakerphone with Jordan and Steve Scott. Our other member is not in attendance right now. We have a redevelopment agreement that is that was drawn up last year with you for a roof project to be done on the Lake Lawn Inn. The agreement was set for a 90-day schedule on there, which is obviously well past the 90 days. So that, in return, makes the redevelopment agreement null and void. So as far as the email, we have a email in for a new bid number for a complete roof project. With that, we would need a new application submitted, only including that bid price, not the 30,000 that was with that.
Okay.
And then it would have to be resubmitted and then reran through that, through this committee for consideration and then discussion. Only because we are well past the due date on that other one, so with it not being signed or agreed to legally, that is the best route for us to proceed at this time. Is that something that you would like to do? Would you prefer?
Caleb from school, it's 2 p.m.
Redevelopment agreement, paper, so that you can begin filling it out, or would you like to stop it again?
Yeah, just have her email me, I guess.
Okay, I will have her email you one. As far as the redevelopment agreement that we have for the RV park that you have submitted, our committee cannot, do anything with it at this time, only because the ordinances have not been processed or changed to even allow for that project to happen. So once those channels get lined up and the votes come in on that, then this committee can take that into consideration and begin that process with you.
Okay.
Do you have any questions, anything that you would like to say, remarks, or anything like that that you would have for the committee and people in the audience?
No, I do not.
Okay, thank you for your time, and I'm sorry the call was a little bit later than we expected, but I think that that's probably the easiest route and the best for us at this time.
Alright, thanks so much.
Yep, thank you. Bye-bye. Okay. Kirby, you wanna email that?
I started it, yeah.
Okay,
I'll finish.
We'll go from there. Anybody, anything else? Anything else? No? Thank you.
Okay.
We, motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion adjourned.